Now, Friday's marathon talks resumed today in Paris. President Emmanuel Macron is meeting with political leaders from all parties. It has been over 7 weeks since French people cast their vote, but with inconclusive results, the new Prime Minister is yet to be sworn in. After Friday's meeting with the leftist New Popular Front, it was time for the other extreme. National rallies Marine Le Pen and Jordan Bardella met with the president. They called the current situation quote-unquote chaotic and the future under leftists quote-unquote dangerous.
By pushing for his political movement, the president chose the paralysis of institutions instead of making way for an alternative that was democratically expressed during the European and legislative elections within the country.
I think the National Assembly should have an extraordinary session, and I think the National Assembly should be in a position to work when the government is named.
It is not clear what an extraordinary session will look like. We are yet to hear any official statement by the government. Whoever Macron names will face a tough job, however. The first major task will be to submit next year's budget plan to the National Assembly, and it will be at a time when France is under pressure from the European Commission and the bond markets to reduce their deficit. The political upheaval began with Macron's gamble. He called for snap parliamentary elections in June, but that backfired, throwing the centrist coalition out of majority and produced a hung parliament. Currently, there are 3 blocs: the New Popular Front alliance of left-wing parties with over 190 seats, followed by the president's centrist supporters at around 160 and the far-right National Rally on 140. Till now, a caretaker government is placed with limited powers. And to give us some insights, we are now being joined by Philippe Moret-Chevrolet from Paris. He is a professor of political communications at Sciences Po and communication expert from Paris. Professor, thank you so much for joining us here on WION. Good to see you.
Hello, good to see you.
And now that the talks between the left and the right parties are over with Emmanuel Macron, what happens next?
Frankly, we don't know. We are in a kind of a situation that we never experienced before. That's the first time that we had general elections 2 months ago, and no new prime minister was appointed. We have no clear majority, and we don't know yet which person the president will pick up and nominate as a prime minister. And we don't know if this prime minister will have a majority in the parliament for pursuing any kind of politics. And we don't know what's really what the president wants at that stage.
Right, Professor, as you said, the country hasn't been in this kind of a situation in a really long time. How are the people in Paris reacting to something like this? Given 2 months, there is no new prime minister.
First of all, they were preoccupied with the Olympic Games, and it was all about the Olympic Games. So for like 3 weeks, everything was centered around the games, and it was pretty successful. So the morals are kind of high now, and people are not yet into politics. They will become more and more involved as time passes, but you have to understand that for the moment we are still in between the Olympic Games and also the national holiday that lasts, generally speaking, lasts until the end of August. So we are nowadays, just in the moment, we are re-entering politics, and we are thinking again about all that, but that has been set aside for a few weeks.
Right, Professor, before I let you go, do you think, looking back, President Macron now regrets his decision of calling snap elections?
We don't know if the president regrets what he did, but his party, his supporters, his prime minister openly regret what he did. I mean, he has lost a lot of support, a lot of MPs, loyal people that were behind him, backing him. His prime minister now is very much an adversary rather than someone who supports the president. And he has pretty much everyone against him. In the polls, he's very low, but he's still in charge. And you have to understand that in France, the institutions were made around the president in order to support the president. We have very, very few counterweights. We have very, very few institutions that are able to limit the power of the president. So we are in a kind of a predicament with the president that are no more political legitimacy, but still is in charge. And he has to choose an MP from parties that he doesn't like, that he doesn't want to see in charge. And clearly is reluctant to do it. So everyone is kind of negotiating with him more or less openly in order to force him into making a decision.
Right. All right, Professor, thank you so much for all those insights from...
Thank you.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.